I don't have high hopes of getting invited to the speedrun.com user trials, like the research thing. So I'm just gonna record like the first three things I do when I visit the website, which I do like a few times a day. And I think it's very illuminating as far as the user experience is concerned. So the first thing you do, obviously, on speedrun.com is um, figure out your cookie settings. So I have to go, whoops, oh look, these are the third-party vendors, by the way, nice list. I have to manage my options, and then there's a bunch of stuff. Legitimate interest, apparently, that is optional. So I turn all of this off. Most things are turned, like most consents, the consent stuff is already turned off. I have to turn off the legitimate interests, and then I go into vendor preferences. And we've seen the list of vendors already, and it's the same thing, legitimate interest. Just to explain what legitimate interest is, processing data under legitimate interest requires that processing is absolutely necessary. If an alternative approach can fulfill the same goal without processing personal data, then processing is not lawful without consent. So the point of legitimate interest in cookies is that the website does not have to ask for your consent to use your data, because they couldn't otherwise fulfill the service that the website is supposed to. So how does that work then, that I can just opt out of these things? Well, clearly they are not. Clearly they're not needed. They're optional. I don't know who the fuck these vendors are. I don't use their services. I don't need them. I don't want them. And I have to turn them all off one by one. I'm not a professional web designer, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a thing called the reject all button, which you click once, and then all of these green little fucking tick things are turned off. You know, that's my understanding of how that works. But again, I'm not a professional web designer who makes, user experience based stuff every day. I'm not an expert on UI. What I'm trying to say. Okay, so I don't actually have the experience to really say if this is this the best way of doing this. I wouldn't know. I'm just thinking in an absolutely utopia of UI and user experience, this wouldn't have to be like this. But again, correct me if I'm wrong. I can click on submit now. So I've taken care of my cookies. Next thing I do is I go on Hotline Miami, and then I unfollow Hotline, because every time the page loads and I want to go on the level leaderboards, for example, the advertisement box here, which is always empty, it loads after the page loads. So when my mouse is over here on the level leaderboard thing, suddenly the advertisement pops up, and my mouse like the website jumps down, and I'm unfollowing like the main game that I moderate and that I look at every day. So that's great. As I don't, you can see it here clearly. It's like I go from level leaderboard to unfollow, which is sick. And then obviously, if I want to look at anything, I have to click this away, because I can't explain how few fucks I give about Dota 2 or whatever else gets advertised there. So those are just like the first three things I do. The cookies, unfollow my game, and then click away the video advertisement that follows me around everywhere I go. I think that's a interesting look into how I, as a power user of the site, navigate the site on a daily basis.